You are now digitally tuned into the podcast known as Pop Says Podcast, where we dig deep into the realm of the nuances of fatherhood, modern day fatherhood as it pertains to today's society and the culture as well. I'm your host, JGhee. I'll be going over that moniker for all day. JGhee, along with my man JB, and AMayesN.
Yes.
Of course, if you can't tell right now, they are brothers. Yeah. Same mother, same path, different struggle. And look, if you got them, smoke them. Put some ice in that glass, fill it up, and let's build here on the Pop Says Podcast. Better fathers of today and beyond. Now, the topic of concern, fellas, and we talked about this, and we've been going back and forth, but we've been talking about the stranger things in this world, right? The stranger things, the upside down of normality.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of like a dissertation project right now, and it kind of feels like that right now. So let's get our work cited so we can turn it into a professor, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about, fellas. Look, man, what is normal? What is not normal? What should we consider normal? Right? Mm-hmm. We've been debating all this day. Y'all been coming over to the crib, and we've been getting into a lot of topics of concern. Now, here's the thing. Oh, before we get into this segment, rest in peace, Cocoa Butter, one of the legends here in Dallas.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, when you brought that up, I was thinking, not Cocoa Butter.
Yeah, raw.
Yeah, I know.
Raw.
Cocoa Butter.
I know that, man. That's childhood right there.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know the premise or anything. I just heard that he passed away. It was on Facebook today.
Today.
Today. Yeah. Today. Yeah.
You think it's because of COVID?
I hope not.
Man,
I hope
Butter,
not.
he had to be young. He could have been that old.
No, I'm what, 41?
He was 50.
He probably like 47, maybe.
That's young. Mama died at 48.
48.
You shouldn't be dying at 47.
It's not normal.
I mean, it's 2020.
You talking about what's normal?
And we got what is normal? That's not normal.
That
right?
ain't normal. Nah.
It kind of reminds me like I'm gonna get smart on you guys real quick. Kind of reminds me like the Elizabethan era, like when people were dying like
Elizabethan.
Yeah, the Elizabethan era. When the guys were wearing all the wigs and stuff like that. Because as
George Washington era.
Yes,
okay.
George Washington era, I guess.
Yeah.
Guys were dying off young, like 40, 50 years old. Like guys weren't living long during that time. Of course,
dang.
They had the Black Plague and all that. So, and we've got another rendition of that. On this COVID.
Like it.
So, our prayers go out to the Cocoa Butter family, man, and we're gonna miss you out there, Coco. Speaking of what's not normal of today, I noticed you sent me something. And I'm gonna just dig right into it. And all my listeners out here, look, this podcast is actually a way for us to perpetuate our passion. A lot of people say, well, you talking so emotional about this situation, or you're talking so aggressive. First of all, we're dealing with 3 black men, okay, that have families that stand on our 10 toes. So if you don't like what we're saying, fine, we welcome that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we never go against what you feel, because here's my personal account. I was in the military for 4 years, and I went and I fought in Operation Desert Storm, Desert Wolf, and I fought for the right for you to have these opinions, no matter how biased, no matter how torn they make society. As long as you don't act on these opinions, and as long as we can understand that how you feel is how you feel, and we can operate in that same understanding, hey, say what you want to say. But you know what? We're here to make sure that we build better fathers of tomorrow and get their insights. There's a lot of insights to where I probably don't get down with, but I probably need to consider, because it's always another side of the game. It's not just subjective, it's objective. So, ladies and gentlemen, especially ladies, we are only perpetuating our passion. That's it. We're not angry. We're not angry black men. We are quite happy. We got beautiful wives. We got beautiful families. We're happy in our own right. But we do want to see if we can pave the way, and also understand how we can pave our way through the perspective of other males and male fathers, particularly. One thing that you brought up, and you've been blowing my phone up over this idea, this concept. Let's start with, as far as today's topics, let's start with this whole colorism thing that we have.
You went there, though.
And well, can we go there, or do you?
I think it's important in today's age. I think it's very important to go there,
because I want to talk about that. But let me just ask you first, before we get in it. My daughter is going to school. She's getting ready to go to school, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How many kids we got going to school?
Oh no. Well, see, all mine are homeschooled except for one. So.
All right. And we got a father.
One on the way.
One on the way. Okay. And keep in mind, fathers, this is also good for the fathers that are fathers to be. Okay. Keep that in mind.
Yes.
Now I have a 16-year-old. Okay.
Yeah.
Now my son is 21, but my daughter's 16. Okay. And I opted for her to go virtually.
Okay. You homeschooling basically.
Pretty much homeschooling, but what I had to negate or give up was her collegiate program.
See, that's how they get you. See, we going
Yeah.
okay, but
Yeah.
that's how they get you.
Yeah. So
She's an IB school.
I don't know what IB school is.
What grade is she?
She's gonna be a junior this year.
Okay.
So she goes to Duncanville. I went to the Soto. I'm not gonna hold it against you. I went to the Soto. I'm not gonna hold it against you.
Everything. You want everything.
No, not really. Not really.
We're probably close. We're close in age. So during that time, like what, 98,
97. Yeah.
Yeah, that little range. Yeah.
Well, you know that was year we weren't really playing y'all. Y'all weren't in our district, so we're gonna leave that there. We were 5A. We were 5A. We were like 8-5. and playing all the Arlington schools. No disrespect to Arlington schools, but they were easy win.
Nah, you know, GP. I played Cedar Hill. I was like, all right, they dominating us.
Yeah, y'all did give us some shakes though, but yeah. So my daughter's going to school, and I had to negate and take her out of the collegiate program, and I just didn't feel like it was normal, and I felt like I was in the realm of Stranger Things, where everything is upside down, to where it's like I care about her health, and I care about her education. I'm caught in the catch-22.
But see, here's where I can piggyback off of that. The whole reason why we homeschool in the first place is because of the system that they set up in the schools in the first place.
So you're
My
saying
daughter-
that it's systematic in the first place?
Yeah, like I'll
So
give you an
it's
example.
systemic.
My daughter had open heart surgery at 10 months old.
Right.
She wasn't even a year. The doctors already told us she'd be 3 to 4 years behind out the gate.
Okay.
She
Based
didn't
off
even learn how to
her
crawl. Correct. She didn't even
Okay.
learn how to crawl to 2.
condition. Okay.
So when you put that child into a normal system, they're automatically behind. The school system in general is not designed for that child.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel you.
Do you get where I'm going?
Right.
Because in this situation, if you take a regular 5-year-old at this learning level, that child is expected to meet these numbers. Once the child doesn't meet the number,
Without the additional attention that's needed, without
Correct.
everything.
They
that
no
might-
longer can fit
Go.
into society.
they can't
A
fit in
standard,
society's
a
standard,
standard,
a
right.
standard.
Standard.
And then once they meet, here's what happens. The standard is what the school lives up to, funding, all those things. So then they have this progression that they go through to determine where your child fits in that.
Right.
What I'm saying is my child just didn't make the cut.
Right.
So when we got to the bottom of that, whatever that was, I was forced to make a decision. Homeschooling was no longer an option. It was either that or the route they set for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're trying to make it appear to me as if my child is this,
Right.
when I know she ain't that.
Right.
So I made a decision.
Now, being that you made that decision, in hindsight, and I'm pretty sure you don't regret it, but I don't want to put words into your mouth.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was the best decision that you could have made at that particular time?
Well, here's the thing.
And do you see residuals from it?
Look at this. I'll put it this way. My daughter was in the 3rd grade at that time. She was at a pre-K level education.
3rd grade, pre-K level education. Gotcha.
When she went to recess at school, they put her with kids that were 4.
3rd
Now
grade,
imagine a 3rd grader,
preschool level education.
preschool mentality.
Okay.
She's playing with 4 and 5-year-olds
Okay.
when she's really 8.
When she was supposed to be around 8 or 9 year olds.
And the other 8-year-olds didn't want to play with her.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So what I'm saying is, that's how bad it was.
Okay.
Now my daughter's going into the 7th grade, and we have her all the way caught up. So from 4th grade to 7th grade, that was me and my wife doing all the work.
Wow.
So the question is, how did we in homeschool get her caught up faster?
That was my question.
But that's the whole point, right?
Right. Right.
So when you bring up the collegiate aspect of it, well, of course it's going to go down that road, because if you think about it, why would we give your daughter the right to this collegiate program when you're about to pull her into a direction we don't want her to go in the first place?
Because I know when she comes home, I'm going to enrich her, and I think this is a message that I have to a lot of fathers. We get caught in the rigmarole of being providers, right?
Yeah.
We don't see the forest for the trees sometimes, and looking at that, it's got me to understand that, you know what, Pop, you're gonna have to implement some more time. Like over the summer, I made sure that she read at least 2 books. She read Dick Gregory's Nigga. She read and she's reading Tanner Nareem Nadu. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Joplin's Ghost, which is it's a long read, but it's a pretty entertaining read, right? One is more entertaining and one is more educational. Right. But not to say that I haven't been doing that, but I made sure that I did it even more. And also I've been implementing money math. So I would have like some fake money and I would give her an allowance. If she knew how to handle her allowance with the fake money for that next 2 weeks, because you get paid every 2 weeks for the most part. If she had some left over, whatever she had left over is what I gave her for allowance. Yeah. I didn't just come up with the amount. I would give her, say, like $1,000, right, and see what she did with that $1,000 of fake money. And at the end of the day, now if she had $200, I can't give her $200 in my pocket, but I would give her a percentage of that. So like maybe 10% of that, give her $20 or something like that, to let her understand that, okay, at the end of the day, even though you have this accounted for, it's not yours. Yeah, right. It's not quite. Even when you put your money in the bank, it's not yours. They don't tell you that. But they are actually
being reinvested.
It's being reinvested
in their way.
Our money man, AMayesN knows, because of foreign exchange. Oh, yeah. And so that's the things and I'm glad you brought that up. That's the thing that I'm starting to understand now. It comes down to the enrichment of it, of our kids' education, because you're right. They don't want you to go and relearn your kids.
Well, here's the thing.
See, but I'm going to interject because I feel like that opens up so many more questions. But I'm not going to go into that, right? Sure. Because I believe that truly does open up many more questions. But the reality is, and this is one thing based off of which I've already shared thus far, I want to understand it better, right? Because you talked about your daughter, which I know your children, right? They're my nieces and my nephews. So it's like you talked about your children, right? You talked about one that's behind according to the standard. Yeah. The standard, right? Yeah, we'll quote unquote that. But then what about the ones that may be ahead of the standard? What about the ones that may be more advanced in their intellectuality or whatever you want to call it, versus being able to keep up or being able to progress further than what the standard is, but now they feel like they have to subject themselves to the standard? I'm
glad you brought that up, because here's the thing, right? I have one child that's never been in the public school system at all, which is my youngest. When she did kindergarten, she completed a whole entire kindergarten year in 30 days. Wow. And this is why I bring this up, is because, and I tell this to anybody, so anybody that's listening, the problem is that your children are smarter than the pace that the school is teaching them. Mm-hmm. So if we go from, let's say school starts August, ends May, let's just say, or June, we'll just say that's what that is. Some of those kids could have completed all of that work in 4 months.
Right. Oh, I can attest to that. Because in the last phase of the school year, when COVID hit, all our kids had to come back home and do it virtually, right? Well, my daughter finished, I think, 2 weeks ahead of her schedule.
Bam. There we go. Yep.
So in the reality of what's norm, we're talking about community standard. Yep. And we see that the education system has already precedented their own community standard, in which we have to acclimate ourselves to, when we already should go ahead.
I said, and they pressed it upon us. And the reason I say that is because it was me, right? Mm-hmm. I was the guy that fell asleep in class. Not because class was boring, but it was boring, right? Because it was just repeat information.
It's repetitive.
And you were already ready to go to another level.
All right, so what's next? And that's literally the place that I've been in. And I felt like even becoming an adult, that has equally had an impact on me in the same way. Because now that I'm an adult, I'm like, we still talking about the same things over and over again.
Yeah, you spent a whole year learning something about history from 1822 to the 1940-something, just to go in the next grade up and reiterate what you went over the whole school year before that, only to get a little piece of what you need to know more for the next year. Yeah, and then that's just and so again, I'm starting to understand that what is my norm.
Let me add on to that
Oh yeah. Now you opening the can of worms.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many kids are going to this school will give this money to this? The state will give this much money to the school because I see it now. Oh, if you refer somebody to go to my kid's private school, you know, like I'm like, what?
But then that's systematic. We're going back to system.
Because the thing is, they force you.
They force you
this and that. When I know it's for maybe parents that can't truly homeschool to where they force parents to like, okay, well then if we're gonna babysit your kids, you're gonna learn what we give them.
Right.
And make money
this is a leverage that we have on you.
And make money off your kids because you're working so much or you work 9 to 5. So we're babysitting your kids literally, and that whole situation because my son's best friend's mom is a white woman who is an educator in Highland Park, but she's so cool. She tells me all the games. I'm just like, I never knew.
Yeah.
I never what?
Yeah.
And I had my son. Both my son and the daughter at a charter school, and I believe in circulating not only the dollar, but circulating the patronage in our community, right? And I just wasn't. I was upset because my daughter hurt herself. They didn't go through the protocol so much to where I could have sued them, right? But because I was more in tune with just making sure she was all right, I didn't even think about suing or anything like that or any type of legality issues. But the one thing I looked at too is that after that happened, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. But it was the events leading up to that, and every day I would see my daughter and my son come home with STAR tests, homework.
I'm very familiar with STAR, task, all of them.
TOS. And there was a period when I was coming up. There was a period when, as far as standardized tests, it was like a season for it, right?
Yeah.
And it always seemed like that season came during the fiscal year, whether it be like October or whatever the case may be, when they rounded up money and they getting audited, whatever.
Right.
And much to Bobby's point, man, it becomes not only a financial thing, but a social economic thing as well.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't see those practices in the higher, or what I would say in the more affluent areas. You have enrichment courses. You have research and development courses for high school kids in those facets. But where we're at, it's always, let's see how many kids is going to pass this test to see how much money y'all going to get next year.
But see, check this out, right? I've technically been homeschooling since my daughter was in the 4th grade. We're going into the 7th. So I'll just, 3 to 4 years is what I'll say. I've told anybody this. If
Pop says I told you so.
I told you this. If all your child does is go to school and come home, as a parent, you ain't doing your child no good.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's why I'm bringing this up is because let's just go with school starts
at. Say that one more time.
As
baby.
a parent, you ain't doing your child any good if that's all they do is go to school and come home. And the reason why I bring this up is because my daughter finished kindergarten. When I say a full year, I mean an entire kindergarten year in 30 days. I'm not even lying. 30 days worth of the August to dang May, whatever that is, in 30 days. And I bring this up is because all our children learn at different paces. What homeschool allows you to do is identify the speed of your child's learning abilities.
Right.
And I agree, but let me ask you this, because now I feel that still comes down like, this is and this is to my teachers, right? Because I feel like teachers are tasked with a generic standard that maybe they recognize it, but they're held to that standard. They have to adhere to that standard. So to the teachers, even though they may recognize, because many times mama would get letters sent home saying your son should be in AP classes. He should be in this. He should be in that. And for those standards, as for a parent that's engaging, a parent that really cares to pay attention to those factors, do you feel like all parents pay attention to those factors? Therefore, you need schools.
But here's the thing:
because
what I'm saying,
not all parents pay attention to those factors.
No, you're right, but that is what I'm saying is that you're relying on my child is a 7th grader, so I'm expecting my child by the end of May that they will be going into the 8th grade or the 9th grade or whatever grade, right? What I'm saying is just because your child completed a full year's worth of work, you're only doing it at the speed of the school. So we know once you go to school August 24th, by the end of that year, you should be ready to go to the next one. What I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I would at least say probably 50 to 75% of those students could have been done. No, meaning they could have been completely done with the year in December.
Right.
So then let me ask you this.
The money
but the money, and then that's a different conversation.
And I believe, yes, the money is definitely a factor, but then let me ask you this. Does it make it about the money, or does it make it about the fact that maybe some parents don't care as much as you do?
No, but
much as you do.
But here's what I'm saying.
As much as I may care.
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that's not right, but what I'm saying,
because they still need the education. Those kids that maybe not have a parent that cares as much as them still needs an education to some degree to at least give them an opportunity, right?
But what I'm saying is, it's not that that's wrong. What I'm saying is, when you look at time, you have from August to May to complete work that, not saying his child, 'cause I don't know his child, your child could have did in 4 months.
I agree. I don't
So
disagree.
the thing, what I'm saying is, the parents need to have a better understanding. But I'm saying if you only go by the school system, then you're still going to do the year regardless. You're just going to put them in school in August, and they're going to end in May.
You're just at the behest of the schedule of the school.
Remember when we used to watch that stuff back in the day? You turn on Geraldo, and they have a 10-year-old that graduated from college. Geraldo, there we go. There's that Geraldo. Pop says
Geraldo.
Pop can't talk. There we go. Pop can't speak. Well, what I'm saying is, Geraldo or Sally Jesse Raphael, we going back. A lot of y'all, we going all the way back. Man, you sit there, you be watching that stuff, you be like, wow, a 10-year-old graduated from college. How? It's because they were homeschooled. It's because that 10-year-olds mentally could consume what your child could consume in 12 years in a year.
But I'm saying, I feel you on it, and I think that's a great point. But what I'm saying is, do you feel like that 10-year-old had a parent, which was like you or me?
Sure.
Or did that child have a parent that just was out here just doing whatever the hell they want to?
In rare cases, you would have a parent that just didn't have anything to do with their child's life, and somebody saw that. But that's very rare. I would say for the most part,
that is rare.
I feel that is rare. Okay. But for the most part, there are parents that are present, that are cognizant of where their child needs to be, or with the help that the child needs, and therefore they're actively aware of what the child needs to be doing.
But to piggyback on that, I think COVID or this whole situation is forcing parents, because of the virtual learning.
Sure.
You were forced to be at home with your kids, whether you wanted to or not.
Right.
So even though it's not homeschooling in the same right, technically you're doing what I've been doing now for 3 or 4 years.
I knew this is coming.
That's what I'm saying. You're technically doing it. So now you, as a parent, got to think.
You got to assume the responsibility.
It's a more responsibility on you. So I'll give you an example, right?
Versus, hey, I'm going to hand my children off to the teacher, and the teacher
and let them do whatever. Like, I'll give you an example. When you actually are a homeschooler, you don't even realize how many programs are out there, how much is out there for your kids.
We did talk about that, right?
We talked about that because you're sending your kid. And this is what I'm saying. They're learning from, let's say, 7 a.m. to 3. That's a lot of time. What are the classes? 45 minutes, you switch, then you 45.
That's a full workload.
That's a workload.
All right, I got a question, because I feel like this raises like a great question. Do you feel like the aspect of your children being the fact that you could have been homeschooling them and progressing them far further than where the school system or any system may have gotten them? Or do you feel like the school system may have been in place for the people that don't, again, think like us? The people that are like, look, I'm living my life. I'm living my best life. So they let their kids do any and everything, and it don't matter about education. It don't matter if it's money. It don't matter if it's about progressing. Do you feel like those people? Because I feel like I guess I'm saying this, as a society, I feel like we equally still have to hold account for those people.
But here's what I'm glad you brought that up, because this is what I'm saying. you gave birth or created a child, however you want to call it. So when you listen to Pop Says Podcast, and this is for y'all that's listening, here we take ownership and responsibility.
Right.
You should not have birthed a child that you were not prepared to develop.
Yeah.
So if you are a parent in general that is not developing your children, then you need to you need to be listening to Pop Says Podcast.
Is that a realistic expectation?
It is that Pop Says Podcast.
I
don't know about the rest of it.
If you don't have
but here it is.
Accountability, you definitely need to
tune in.
You need to be down there right now because we're going to hold you accountable.
Because somebody just found out.
Yeah.
Somebody just found out that their BM is got a seed, right?
There we go.
And so this would be a perfect account, you know what I'm saying, to say, what do I need to be accountable for? And we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna move along, but I just want to read this. This is from the Center of Education Reform. How should schools reopen? Congress should let parents choose their best for their children. Washington, D.C. This afternoon, President Trump announced kids' first approach to reopening schools. In response, I think it's Gene Allen, the founder and chief executive of the Center for Education Reform, issued the following statement. Talk to any parent in America right now, and you'll discover one issue that keeps everyone up at night. How will our kids be educated when schools reopen?
Yeah. Some
parents want to send their kids back to traditional classrooms. Other parents prefer to do their own schooling, and with emphasis on digital and personalized learning. Others favor a blended solution. Regardless of their decision, every parent should enjoy the opportunity to choose among high-quality options. Keyword: high-quality options.
Yeah.
Now, what we kind of been talking about and kind of circumventing around is, I keep on hearing hints of, and I don't want to make this political, but I am right now.
It's very political.
It still reminds me of separate but equal in terms of the education system.
Yeah.
Because now we're looking at the normality and what is constituted as a social norm based off the social economic structure that you're in as it pertains to education. Meaning Highland Park.
Oh, we already know. Yeah.
Highland Park.
Yeah.
Roosevelt.
But check this out. Here's where I'm going.
How many parents in Highland Park, they got their kids going to Highland Park, how many parents want their kids to go back?
Well, no, here's the thing. Highland Park is like the standard, right? But here's why I bring up homeschooling. Because here's what happens when you teach your child. They have their own pace. The problem is most parents won't dedicate the time to it. But your child can learn at a faster pace than the schools are teaching them at.
Right.
See, but
naturally.
I guess
I totally
naturally.
agree.
And I wholeheartedly agree. But this is my thing though, because I feel like as much as it makes sense, right? People neglect that people still come from where they come from.
Yeah.
So if I came out the hood, right, and education is like last to me, am I educating my kid according to what y'all are saying?
That's
To me, it's like no,
Or-
that does not take place,
Or
right?
based off what y'all not teaching them.
I mean, it could go all kinds of ways, and this is the problem I think that most people have in trying to identify the true reality of what's going on, right? We all want to say, for the good parents out here that want to do something better, that want to progress, and that want to go here and go there, it makes perfect sense. But to the other people that are just like, look, keep your pistol on you.
Yeah.
Keep this. Be ready to fight. Do that. Does that transition to that child the same way as the parent that's like, no, you got to make it out of this. You got to do this. So I get that we're trying to speak to the parents that say, hey, we got to do better. But for the people that don't hear we got to do better, what does that take on for them?
It takes to me, that in itself is its own beast compared to the beast that we're like you explained, as far as the parents that are actually telling their kids, don't do this, don't do that. Here's the thing. We're talking about communal standard. In my neighborhood, I live in a nice neighborhood.
Yeah, so you set the standard.
I set the standard.
You set the standard.
Pop
sets the standard.
Sets the standard. So I had a neighbor that moved in next to me, and she is leasing. When I saw that the house was leased, right? I ain't gonna lie. First thing I thought was, oh hell, like we gonna have some riffraff coming And that's what it looked like initially, right?
I feel you.
And, you know, the boys that were staying there, I could tell that they didn't have maybe some rearing going on.
Mentoring,
some mentoring going on.
Anything.
Because the first thing I looked at is how you appropriate your trash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I feel you.
And we were talking earlier, who takes out the trash? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Me coming up, I always believe that the man takes out the trash.
Pop says
The man takes out the trash.
That's
you know
what
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? And the woman deals with your trash enough, she shouldn't have to take it out.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So when they came, they had a big party when they were telling everybody to social distance and everything. And after the party, I could tell this is not gonna last. This is not gonna be good. The morning after, there was nothing but trash in my neighborhood. Now I pay HOA.
That's a big deal.
Pop says I'm not gonna get kicked out of my house over no HOA matter.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Now because they lease, they're not held under the same laws and constrictions.
I
guess what I'm understanding is set the standard.
Set the standard because
let you know what a young black man should grow up.
Set the standard and also make sure that you're willing to adhere to whatever standards you have to be. You have to be responsible. Accountability. So when you look at my yard, you don't see any trash in my yard. You don't see any garbage cans out. They're placed behind the fence. You know, they're not on the side of the house. You see what I'm saying? So I was able to come to her and say, hey, look, and just respectfully, I said, hey, you got trash in my yard.
So
hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
So I told her, I said, you got trash in my yard. I said, and that's all I said. I said, I know it's the morning time. I said, but you got trash in my yard and I need it out.
Right.
I started to go back in and pretty much just go to sleep. But I said, you know what? That's our problem. We like to complain and kind of outfit the problem, but we never can show people how to eradicate the problem.
Deal with it. Yeah.
So I turned back around and I went back out and I got some big trash bags and I helped the little boy clean up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that way I was able to put in my 2 cents and say, hey, look, when, this is the way the trash needs to go. I'm gonna help you this time and get the trash. And after that, it didn't take me screaming at him.
So that brings me to what I was actually gonna say.
Uh-huh.
For the fathers or the men, I'll just keep it simple, right? You know, I don't want to make it like a man versus woman.
Yeah, but this is Pop says. So
this is
for men. This is
a
male space, period.
I'm glad you
That's what I'm
said
saying.
it
This is
because,
men.
hey, I've learned to tiptoe.
Be a father. There we go. Be a dad.
Look,
Pop says.
My child ain't here yet, so I'm still having to learn these lessons in life, right?
Yeah, Pop says.
So for a man, though, because it may not be your son.
Right.
It may not be your daughter.
Right.
It may be the daughter in the neighborhood
Sure.
or the son in the neighborhood that you still have to look out for and say, hey, this is what it is.
But see, we're piggybacking off of what you're saying. At the end of the day, to me, it's when you walk in a certain standard, when it's a lifestyle, it don't matter. Because everywhere you go, that's the expectation.
Right.
So I don't care if your 12-year-old talking crazy.
Yeah.
Look, son, you gonna address me right. You can talk to them however you want to.
Right.
But when you talking to me, you gonna look
This
me in
is
the
what it
eyes.
is.
I want a firm handshake.
Hey, yeah.
You gonna give me some respect, and I'm gonna give you some respect. And what you're doing in that moment is you letting that boy know that this is the way we do things.
Period.
So whether he treated the other 13 male figures, whatever you want to call them, this way, you're not gonna do this to me because this is how I carry myself. You 12, you don't know no better. And let's be honest, most of us grew up without dads anyway.
Right.
So
and
I
think
don't
that's
need
half the problem.
I don't
right
need
there.
your permission for me to set a standard for your son.
Right.
If he already had that standard set, you wouldn't even need me.
Mm-hmm.
So then let me ask you, as Pop says, podcast, do you feel like this is like setting a standard?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
So.
Setting a standard.
Very much so. And let me finish reading what.
Oh, go ahead.
That's
go
okay.
ahead.
Let me interject on that. Indeed,
Right.
it says the best way to help parents is for Congress and the president to give them choice.
That's perfect.
The best way to help parents is for Congress and the president to give them choices. For example, we should incentivize and reward innovation. We should suspend attendance zones. We should allow taxpayer dollars to follow a student through a virtual backpack. And above all, we should now allow teacher unions to hold students hostage to political agenda.
Watch this, though. I'm glad you brought this up. Because I know you didn't know this. I don't even know if you knew this. We almost went to jail over my daughter missing school in DISD.
I went to jail for whooping my son.
No, but here's that. You went to jail for whooping your son. We almost went to jail for attendance. Attendance.
Yeah.
Attendance.
Oh, no. We went to, we had to go to court.
We went to court twice.
We paid a $50, and it was because, let me tell you, I'm sorry. It was because I'm so heated. Because the system counted her absent 3 more times than what she was supposed to be.
Truancy ain't
that.
no
We
joke.
spent $850
over tardies. Yes,
over tardies. Grandma went to court for me for truancy.
Yeah.
That's like how many? 3 equals 1.
It's like 4 equals 1. Yeah.
We spent $850. We went to court twice.
That's a nice shoe.
And the reason I'm bringing, because when you bring that up,
Wifey says.
Look, chime in.
They say? They said, let us raise your kids. And this brings me back to whatever this is. What's normal, the upside down, is simple. You are the male, you are the father, run your household.
The household.
Forget what everybody else is saying.
Right.
What goes on in your apartment, your house, your condo, your whatever it is, that Pop says, you got to be setting the standard for your family.
I agree, but that's if you have a certain sense of morality. Like I feel like we're blurring lines if we don't talk about morality. Like yes, run your family, because I could be a drug dealer, killer out here and don't care about nothing, and raise my child to be a drug dealer, killer, and don't care about nothing, and be a rascal out here. You know what I mean? So I think when we talk about that, there has to be some sense of morality behind what we're saying. And I believe as gentlemen up what Pop Says podcast stands for, there is that level of morality, but I don't want that message to be blurred for someone that doesn't understand. Like there is some morality.
The only people that are going to blur those lines are the people that don't believe in law or morality themselves. Those are the people that, we put in God's hands. You know what I'm saying? But also the antidote to that is not only just setting the standard, but it's also teaching and conditioning your kids to look towards their peers or look towards the individual in their peer set as somebody that they can identify with. Yeah. Because this group is going to move regardless. Everybody has their own plane and their own axis in which they rotate around. Yeah. But for the most part, there's groups that move with each other. Right. Yeah. So it's also important, like the example that I want to set. Instead of letting my daughter go over to her friend's house from now on, I have enough confidence in my environment, in my household, in my physical household, to say that, no, you bring them here. Yeah. Matter of fact, furthermore.
And she'll respect it. That's the beautiful thing about it.
And she'll respect it. Furthermore, what is her parents doing around 7 o'clock? Tell her to bring her parents, and me and Dad can have a drink. Mom can get with wife. Maybe we can play some dominoes or something. They don't have to stay for that long. Yeah. But it's something that's gonna transition their kids to where they be like, look, we nosy.
They look up to
we nosy. If I go to your house, I want to say, okay, what my kids gonna be getting into? I go to your house, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go through your drawers and nothing like that, but I want to get an account of where my kid is at. So when they see that, it's kind of like, okay, it's not just a child, because a lot of times my daughter tells me, hey, so and so wants to come over. Okay, what's her mama's number? What's her daddy's number?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Does her mom?
And we know mama didn't play them games.
Does her mom know that there's a male here in this house? Yeah. And that I have another son who's 19, 20, or 21, and that's another male element. And does she have a standard of dressing in the bathroom and not dressing with the door wide open? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What are her standards? Yeah. Because ain't none of that pervert stuff going on. Here. Right. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say what I'll do, but ain't none of that going on over
right.
Here. You see what I'm saying? So it's important that you understand that you have confidence in the environment that you're setting and say, nah, bring it to my turf. Because I'm gonna watch your kid.
The community's always got the same standard.
It's got the same standard.
The same standard.
You know what I'm saying?
But see, but if we look at it and we go, okay, upside down. What's normal? Everything that we discussed, and we, whether that's education, going back to what started with the colorism, all of this stuff is still defined by the household.
The household.
The morals, when you bring up morals, some people grow up in an environment where it's okay to be this way. Mm-hmm. Some people grow up in an environment where it's okay to be this way.
Okay, let's talk about that.
But that's what I'm saying.
And if I can make one mention, because you say what's normal, I believe, again, we all come from a generation that was raised a little differently than what your daughter may be coming up in. Your kids may be coming up in. My future child may be coming up in. So it's like we all are raising the children. We're raising children in an atmosphere to where our mentality is being not washed away, but questioned.
But here's the thing: you can question it. But remember this: there's nothing new under the sun.
I agree.
Now,
so it don't matter.
So we can transition to the next topic. Let's get an understanding about this education thing. Is it normal for you now to become a teacher
in your household?
In your household.
You should be a teacher.
Is that normal?
You should have been a teacher from the beginning.
From the time of birth.
Yeah, period.
From the get-go.
Period. Yeah. And if you weren't, then are you really setting your children up? Because what's the concept? My ceiling should be your floor. Mm-hmm. So my children should have a higher ceiling than me, because whatever my ceiling is, that's their starting point.
And that's why I do agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly, because like when I think about my mama, she set us up to be better than what she was.
Yeah, and our family's messed up, so we had a low. Ours was really low.
Yeah.
So. I set my bar way higher, but we didn't have a high.
But I guess that's the point. That's the strive, or that should be the strive.
That should
of
be the
every
goal.
Parent.
Exactly.
That's to set your child up to be better than what you were, even though it may not be perfect, even though you may not have did everything that the rest of the world is doing. Mm-hmm. Did you do better? Yeah. Did you strive to do better than the last?
And I also think that through history it's been shown to us that people who have ventured off from the norms of the educational environment, people who have ventured off of that path, like the Gates, some celebrities, some innovators, a lot of them didn't even finish school.
Yeah, a lot.
I got a partner right now.
I agree.
Shout out to Rashard Walls, man. Very smart dude. I mean, he can look at something and memorize it the first time. He's got a very photographic memory. Photographic memory, and I always admire that in him. Where he looked at me as the athlete, and I did good in school, but I wasn't that smart. Was like beyond me.
Yeah.
So he got to UTD, and he had like maybe like 4 or 5 credits left. He got straight out and went to Yahoo. And then became a VP of an IT firm, and then had other opportunities and didn't even finish school. So and then an example of my wife, she went to one high school district, the one Dallas school district to DeSoto. They wouldn't even take her credits because she had taken the majority of the credits that she was going to take in DeSoto, but because they weren't lined up, and I really think it was social economic. She's coming from the Carter side of things. She's coming from the Roosevelt side, the SOC side of things, going into DeSoto. And it's like, nah, our curriculum is better. It's going to get you smarter. So she had to deny herself early exit. And she had to she ended up graduating with her class.
Yeah.
But she could have graduated early. So again, I want to bring that up also, because even when we define our norms, if we try to place them back in a systemic setting, it might not be accepted. So should we as parents start accepting that they're not going to accept our norms and start taking the power in our own hands? And should that be motivation to teach our kids?
Look, I'll say this is the balance of life, right? Like, and I keep it that simple. This is the balance of life. There comes a point where the system, or whatever system has been created around us, we have to now say, okay, is this right? Is it wrong? Does it help? Does it benefit? We have to ask ourselves those types of questions. And I feel like as we start to ask ourselves those types of questions, then we start to find, especially when it comes to, and I'm going to just say it blatantly, right? The black male, because I feel like, again, when it comes to the system, the black male is always the one that's kind of being challenged in a sense, and what he thinks and the way that he feels like things should go is always being challenged in a sense. Not to say it's about the black male, right? But it's always your frame of thinking is being challenged in a sense.
See, here's the thing, right? It's like this. I'm not going to say it's about black male. I'm just going to say males. Because we live in a time period now to where it's patriarchy versus matriarchy. Feminism versus this. Masculinity
versus femininity.
To me, what this is all about is that you are a male, Pop Says Podcast, you gave birth to children. Whether you're married to whoever it is, whether you're a baby daddy, whether you're this or that, you have a responsibility as a father to perform a duty to the child that you brought into this earth. So the point that I'm making in this, and what I feel like what we're saying on this podcast, is that you need to take ownership of the responsibility that you did. So if you have 2 children in this world, at the end of the day, when we make decisions on school, this, that, what route, the father should be heavily involved in that process for that child. And that person and the mother should be working together.
Great point.
To make sure that they're going to go in the direction that's best for the child. Right. So you need to take those steps. The problem that we got, and why Pop Says even is important, is because a lot of the guys out here ain't doing that. Right. Even when you create the babies, you ain't taking care of them.
Why do you think they're doing that?
I don't know. Let me tell you something. So for some of y'all, let me tell you this.
That could still go back to systematic.
Well, I'm a baby daddy and a husband. So I can speak from a different place because I have 3 at home and I have 1 out at home.
Wait, before you go on, we made a promise to ourselves that we wouldn't refer to ourselves.
Okay, I'm a father, period. Okay. But we want to say what.
Sure we stick to the script.
What I'm saying is, because I have 1 child before marriage and 3 in marriage, what I'm saying is, to a listener right now that's in my position, they may have 2 or 3 children or 1 child with a woman that they're not with. The difference, what I'm just saying is, when we say baby daddy, I'm just, we know what that means. Yeah, we know what that means.
I'll just give you all that.
But when it goes back to what you were saying, AMayesN, is that you as a father just need to do certain things, regardless of your position and where you're at in a relationship. All I'm saying is, this podcast is designed for you to step up to the plate, right, to perform at a level that's beneficial for your seed, right, for your future, baby mother, wife, future, whatever that is, your family. And when we're making decisions on school, homeschool, private school, public school, this, charter, all I'm saying is, that is a choice that you have to make. So you're
saying that there's levels to it regardless. Are you just choosing to put your child in, or your next generations in the best position?
In the best position.
Is it out of convenience? Is it because you believe?
Lust, love.
Lust.
We could go down the list. We could go down the list.
You're right.
It could go down the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Because on the cool, you do have people that just want to do their thing.
Sometimes some men are smart enough, like y'all, that would like to wait, or that turns our life around and like, you know what? No, let me step up and truly be the head of the household.
Yeah.
And truly be not just a father,
direct,
but a true provider.
Right.
And
that's a great point, and I'm gonna piggyback on that because this is one area that I felt like I struggled in as becoming a man, right, without a father around. So I'm gonna let that be known. I didn't have my father in my life, so to me, this is an area that I had to learn along the way, right? Mm-hmm. I had to learn how to be a man. Mm-hmm. I had to learn what it meant to be a man. I had to learn, like, okay, I got a wife. I'm trying to do the best that I can. I'm trying to take the steps that I'm taking. I got a child on the way. I'm trying to do the best that I can, and I'm trying to make sure that the child's provided for, but without actually having an example of what that looks like.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And so, and that kind of transitions us into a segment of the show called Father Focus.
Father Focus. Oh yeah, Father Focus.
And with Father Focus, that kind of pretty much sums up what we've been talking about and how we want to perpetuate our understanding of what we learned through the show thus far. So our Father Focus, the theme of our Father Focus today would be what, fellas? In your own words.
I would say teaching a man how to be a man.
Yeah.
Teaching a young man or a growing man or an immature man how to develop into a mature man.
Well, that's a little general, but I'm saying in regards to how things have been upside down, and our point was
I got you.
Was education. So what's the takeaway for the fathers that are dealing with their
fathers?
Children,
Simply said, fathers teach your children. Take the aspect of being the teacher in your children's lives. No matter where you are, no matter what dynamic you're meeting your child at, I don't care if you came straight out the hood. I don't care if you are in suburbia America. I don't care if you made it in America. Continue to be a father. Continue to teach your children good principles, good morals, good values into how to be a young man in this world.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well articulated.
And I guess the best way I would paint the picture is going to be, at the end of the day, I feel like it's always going to start at home. So when you're a male that has a family, woman, children, whatever that is, the leadership that you have to take on, at the end of the day, I feel like everyone's going to follow you, good or bad. And if you're not in a position to step up to that leadership, then you're doing everybody a disservice.
Right.
You're not helping anybody if you ain't doing nothing. So it's kind of like, as a father, but I feel like Pop Says podcast is that we're setting a standard, we're setting a tone to say, you going to listen to us, then we're going to hold you accountable. You're not finna be a father that's going to be on here listening to us and not paying child support. You create that child, get your child support in. Your child's not covered for insurance, get that covered. You got a wife, you ain't doing this. Whatever it is, this is the place for you to realize as a male, you got work to do.
Okay, so in relation to, and I get that, but in relation to how fathers should now approach their families, whether they be together or broken or blended.
Yeah.
How should they approach their families in this education reform of kids either going to school or not going to school?
It depends to me now on how much work you're willing to do. Because when you do decide to teach your own children, in our family, we like to say, I'm the principal, mama is the teacher.
I like that. So
when you're learning, teacher teaches you certain stuff. But guess what? Students act a fool. Mm-hmm. Now the principal got to come in and start checking some students.
Does the principal happen to have a paddle named Dr. Pepper?
No, but what the principal got is, I
might just be reliving my childhood.
Oh, yeah, remember, you know how you be running the hallways and you don't get on there in time and you run into a principal or something? The principal is just making sure that the students are following the law.
Principles remain.
Yeah. So, but if you're a father and we bring all this up, it's like, well, look, you still have a decision to make. So the focus for you is whatever decision that you're going to make, are you going to uphold it, and are you going to follow it, and are you going to make sure your children are in line with that? Because if you just send them off to school, which is what most people do, you're trusting that the school system is going to do all the work for you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is where the problem starts, is that you're dependent on a structure that once they come home, it's no longer about learning. It's no longer about growth. It's just, you learn everything you need to learn at school.
A parent is covering that void that they're missing, and placing upon
exactly
a whole system.
In
hopes to cover that aspect that we don't know.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But for a child,
it becomes better, and then you do that for 12 years, and now they're graduating.
For a child, every moment is a learning moment.
Yeah,
they're grasping. It's in ongoing, non-ending. It's continuous to the day that we pass away.
And that's my
every moment is a learning moment.
That's a wisdom nugget, because some people just think because now you're
You know everything, right?
Right.
Like I'm like even reteaching myself Spanish, even though I learned it like back in high school.
And you get to do that with your child now.
Yeah, but I just do it because purpose is trying to make my money. But like but still like it's still learning. Like,
She's trying to get that extra 10,000 on that.
You're still learning, and you can teach your child to do something that simple younger.
Not just my child, but even my niece that's 1.5.
Right.
I just be like, hey, hola, hola. So she's speaking 3 languages growing up.
Right.
So it's kind of like so I'm like I see again like I'm doing this little thing with her, and I'm like just like how God says like just see your eyes as a
through eyes through eyes of child.
I'm like I see like it's kind of like light a light bulb kind of like okay, I see what he's talking about.
Yeah, when you're able to envelop that experience along with the child's education, you yourself become a student too.
Oh, I'm always a student.
Always.
Yeah.
Every teacher, and this is what I learned very early on, is every teacher is first a student.
Yeah.
And if you're teaching,
Say that
you're
one more time.
always.
Say that one more time.
Every teacher is a student.
Every teacher is a student.
Is a student.
Gotcha.
And that is as simple as that. If you learning, then you are a student. If you teaching, then you teaching yourself how to be accountable to the very things that you saying.
So I would like to interject and say that also with the Father Focus, we also have Pop Says quote of the day. And I think you just hit it. Every teacher
Is a student.
is a student. So that's another takeaway for you parents and fathers out there. So hey look, I think we had a good session. We got
Oh, yeah.
how we doing on time? We good on time?
You were great at that.
Okay. All right. So we got 4 minutes. So I'm gonna give y'all just kind of like a wrap up of what. If you're just tuning in right now, I'm gonna give you a wrap up of what we've been talking about. We've been talking about the normality. I think this is a 2-part series, isn't it?
It could be a 30-part series, if you want to be honest. It could,
Right. So
Yeah.
so we'll get to the round table, see if we want to make a part 2 about it, because there's some other things that you brought up last week that I definitely want to talk about as far as colorism.
Yeah, we didn't even address that.
Yeah, we didn't even address that. But I'm glad we got to this topic, because this is something that concerns fathers right now. And here's what I want to say too. If you want to get back in good graces with your family,
Yes.
if you're away from your if you say you have a baby mama and you're a baby daddy or whatever you want to call it, I would suspect that the ways to get into that back through that door is to say, hey, let me enrich the kids. What if they go over their homework? Because I see a lot of guys, they just drop the kids off like you said, or we pick them up, drop them off, go to work. How about we enrich these kids, go over their lesson? Because I'm pretty sure if we can get sports stats for some sports that don't even involve people now, you know what I'm saying, except the players, I'm pretty sure we can get on this internet.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? There's many quotes and memes that we send each other. I'm pretty sure we can find something that's going to enrich these kids to give them that extra spark. Go ahead.
Here's the thing when you go there, and we won't go there, but sometimes when you want to be that dad, if you're a baby daddy, there's still accountability on the mother to allow that access.
Yes.
It's not that it's not that easy.
I'm saying within your power.
Yeah, within your power, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Within your power. I'm not just leaving it to the chance or anything like that. I'm saying within your power, do something that is more now out of the norm. Like I was saying, for my daughter, I want to teach her what it's like to have credit. So what I'm gonna do? I told her, since she's working, meet me halfway. You give me $250, I give you $250. That's $500. I can get you a secure credit card. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We have to be able to put our money where our mouth is as parents.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? But we stand on your own too. Stand on your principles. And your thoughts were, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's still. I would just say, as we close and everything ends, is that it goes. It's always going to go back to the same place. If you are a father, you have to take ownership and responsibility of your children.
Ownership and responsibility.
Period. Whether we talk education or whatever it is, are you stepping up to the plate to teach your children what they need to know to be successful?
And my point is that you're never too old to learn. And I think that goes back to the Pop Says quote of the day, which is every teacher is a student, including you fathers. Don't just think that just because you're fathers that you get to throw your feet around and throw your weight around, because we got a lot of learning to do, especially in these times.
Amen.
So it's your boy JGhee, my man JGhee.
Yeah. Amazing.
Amazing.
And I just want to give a shout out to Never Satisfied for holding us down.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening the doors, showing love.
Big shout out to Bobby.
A big shout out to Bobby. She hold us down.
What they say? Who? Arsenio.
See,
Hey,
that's who you gonna tell you too old. You really expressing your age.
Hey, shout out to the lovely wives of these two gentlemen that always look out and hold us down. Shout out to AMayes for sponsoring Pop Says and
Genius Designs.
And Genius Designs for showing the sponsor here for Pop Says. So many more to come. We encourage comments. We encourage love, edification. We encourage all of the above. So please do not hesitate to subscribe, to leave your comments, to speak what's on your mind, and we would love to address and talk to you individually as well. So that's what I got to say. Much love.